If you're using a folder in SharePoint or OneDrive to store files that you're then consolidating into your Excel or Power BI report, then what you'll find is the more files you put in that folder, the slower your refresh will get. I'm going to show you a couple of techniques I'm suggesting to speed up that process by archiving some of the older files and then appending the archive onto your current data. So a couple of techniques. I'd love to know what people think or what other people do, so leave some comments. But here's how I might approach it. Let's go. Here's the scenario. I've got a folder and I'm dumping, say, weekly files in here. And they're going to be my source from my Power BI or my Excel report. For this session, I'm going to do Power BI as a demo, but the same techniques roughly will apply to Excel as well, okay? So look, I've got 52 files in here, one for every week, and then I'm starting the next year. Okay, so let's just see this in action, see how long it takes to refresh, and approach two different ways. One using a new tool called Bravo from the SQL BI team, and the other technique is just using Dataflows. Okay, so a couple of different options. Let's give this a go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get this folder path, okay, up to this SharePoint demo spot. I've got a little video on this. I'll put a link below. Okay, so I'm going to go get data and then click on the From SharePoint Folder button. SharePoint folder. Double click on that. And I'm just going to pull this in. Okay, we're going to see how it works. A couple of little tips about how to get here. Again, I showed this technique in an earlier video, but it's worth repeating because I think this technique's important. So I'm not going to click combine because this is a list of all my content in that SharePoint folder. I need to go transform. And the first thing I'm going to do, okay, is change this to SharePoint.contents. It's just quicker if you do it this way when you start refreshing. Okay, SharePoint.contents, press enter, and then rather than seeing this big list, you see this nice little navigatable, clickable list of tables. I'm going to start with shared documents, drill into that. Okay, I'm going to go to my YouTube demo folder, drill into that, and here's the ever-growing folder. So I'm going to click into that. And here's the list of all the files, okay? Now, before I click on this little double-headed arrow, I'm going to rename this as my ever-growing folder. Okay, oh, perfect. And then I'm going to reference it. So, right-click, reference. Having this sort of starting folder is really makes life easier when you start swapping stuff around later. Okay, so then I've got this, which is going to be my ever-growing consolidation. So here's my folder, here's my consolidation. I'm just going to click on these two little arrows, and this will do the combination, the consolidation for me, okay? It's going to ask what sheet or what table, so I just want to do it for this particular table. It's called table 1. Click OK. And it'll whir away, and annoyingly the main Power BI screen gets in the way, as it's always done for 5 years. Right, here we go. So this is actually now it. This is the consolidated list. And if I scroll down, every 1,000 rows a new file would start. Let me just move up a step, okay? So we're here, these are all the different tables. So each table is a different file. So there's 56 files, okay? And then this gets expanded out. What I'm doing is I'm actually losing the file name here though. So at this removed other columns step, I'm actually going to come here on this cog and say I need to get the file name as well. So I tick on the name step and click OK. So here's the different names of the different files. And when I expand this out, it says the field name already exists. So actually I'm going to go back here and call this file name. Okay, and expand out the table, and now we've got it. Okay, so if I filtered on this and said load more, you'd see all 56 files, are now combined, which is beautiful. So what I'm going to do, right click on this ever-growing folder and disable load, because I don't need that, that's just a folder, and I'm going to load this data. Okay, so close and apply, maximize my Power BI report, okay, it's loading, it's taking its time, and this is the issue, it gets longer and longer. So let me just do something really simple. I'll do a file name as a matrix visual, and I'll put a count of file name in the values. Okay, just to give a little list. So 1,000 records in every file and 56 files in total. So that's 56,000 records. So if I click refresh, let's go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 13 seconds, and it'll just get slower the more files you add. So that's the scenario. We want to try and fix this up, speed up that refresh when we're just getting more and more files. Now, the ideal scenario is don't be storing all your files in a SharePoint folder, put them in a nice SQL database. But many of us don't live in that world. That isn't a possibility. So this is for everybody, where putting your data in a nice organized manner into a centrally maintained and managed IT SQL database would be the best approach. Okay, and put some guidance, some instructions, all those sorts of things. That's not necessarily the world we all live in. So this is for all the other people who live in the sort of day-to-day, need to get the job done type scenario, and then eventually you can put this into a proper SQL centrally maintained database or something. Okay, so let's just save that. This is for practical purposes. Okay, let's look at two techniques. One would be dataflows. So we're going to store the data in a dataflow. The other would be to export this historical data and put it in a CSV file and have that as a starting point. So what I'm going to do is this. I am going to change this table a second. Okay, so I am going to point this at just I'm going to filter out the new files for a second. Okay, so here we go. And then I'm going to export the data into a CSV file using a tool called Bravo. It is a new tool that the SQL BI team built. If you don't have access to that, you can also use DAX Studio and the DAX Studio technique, and I'll put a little link in the notes below. DAX Studio, you can do this with Excel as well. You can have the DAX Studio Excel add-in, export the table I'm about to show you to a CSV file, and do the same sort of thing. Okay, so let me just go back into here, and I want to just filter out the newer files. So I'm going to go to my ever-growing folder, okay, and I'm just going to untick these newer, I've got the archive in there. Okay, click OK, then click close and apply, and the newer ones will disappear, and this will drop down to 52,000 records. All right, I've just got the historic stuff. You could put a date filter on, or you could just remove any new files from the folder, whatever way works, just to get, I've got 1 year's worth, or you could have history of 5 years worth. Here's my records. Okay, right, so what do we do? Well, once you download Bravo, and I'll put a link in the notes, okay, I'm just going to launch it. And this is a really good tool for analyzing your model, but it's also got the ability to export the data as a CSV, individual tables, okay? So you can analyze your model, find out which are really expensive columns, You can format your DAX automatically. I haven't got any measures in here, so it won't do it. You can manage dates and things if you're a DAX date table fan. But this is the one I'm interested in. Okay, export data. So here's the table I want to export, and I'm going to export it as a CSV and export. That'll do. Export selected. So now I'm going to save this export into this folder, archive CSVs from Bravo. This is in my synced folder, okay? Or you could just put it to your desktop and upload it to your SharePoint folder. So select folder. So let's just go and have a quick look at that. So if I go YouTube demo, archive CSVs from Bravo, okay. This is the ever-growing consolidation. I'll just delete this, which was a previous little test I did. Okay, so here's the ever-growing consolidation. I'm just going to rename that. So let's rename it as, let's pretend that was 2021 history. Okay. And then I might add a 2022 history and a 2023. So this might be a once a year thing or once every 6 months. So you can do that, or you could just pull in that individual file, whichever way you want to handle this. I might go for the individual file option. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to go back in here and I am going to change this. Okay, change this query. So home, I'm going to go to transform data. And I've already set up a little folder that didn't have the new files in. So I am going to go to this. Let me get rid of that filtered row step. I am actually going to go and look at, okay, rather than this ever-growing folder, I had another folder set up back here called current period. And all it's got is the current year, okay, the current year's worth of data. So I want to change this, and this is the beauty of this sort of folder here, to current period. But if you don't want to start clicking in here, here's a little tip. Go into the advanced editor. Okay. After this source step, type the word split or something like that. Okay. Equals source, comma, and then refer this as split. And then all that does is split out these steps down the side. Okay. So we got shared documents, YouTube demo, ever-growing folder. And if I want to pick a different folder, I now delete this step and go, okay, I just want the current period. Perfect, okay. And this is now going to be called something different. This will be just called the current folder. And this will be my consolidation. Okay. So here is just the current period, right? That's all I'm loading. I need to grab that historic stuff and append it on the bottom. Now I could do another from folder if I want that consolidation to continue, but I'll just show you a different technique in terms of grabbing one file. So here we go. We're going to go into the archive. Okay, I'm going to refer to this file. So I'm just going to click on this thing here, go to details, okay, the 3 dots, then details, scroll down the side and click this little path icon, which is crazy, but that's how you connect to this file. So click on that little path icon, and then I'm going to say new source from web, and I'm going to paste that URL in and click OK. And then I'm going to go, you might have to put your credentials in the first time you do that as well. Then I'm going to click OK. And if you do have to do that, sign in with your organizational account. Okay. And this will just be my 2021 history. I'm not going to load this, so I'm going to right click and disable the load so it goes italic. Okay. And then for this consolidation, I'm then going to append, clicking this append option. And I'm going to append the 2021 history. So now this, if I click load more, will have everything in it. Okay, and now I click close and apply. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, let me just refresh it again just to double check. Refresh. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, quicker. Okay, quicker. So that's one technique. The other technique I'd suggest is dataflows. Okay, so put your archive data in a dataflow. So how do we do that? Right, well, what we could do, let's just show a dataflow from scratch. Okay, so we're going to jump in and we're going to go into Power BI and we're going to say new dataflow, add new tables. So dataflows will work if you've got Power BI license, okay? And I'm going to go from SharePoint folder and you can put your URL in here. Okay, so let me do the same thing again. Now I could copy and paste the query from desktop, but not everything comes across. So I'm just going to show you this technique as well. It does seem to work if you copy and paste, but I'm just going to sign in and just show you it from scratch. So I'm signing in. And then I'm going next. Okay, and then here's everything in here. I'm going to go transform data. And again, SharePoint.contents. Or it would help if I put a T in there. Okay, into the shared documents I go. Okay, into the YouTube demo. And I've just got a folder with all the archive, all the old files in. So you can just keep updating this because you're going to refresh this data flow maybe once a year. So it doesn't really matter if it takes 20 minutes or 5 minutes, whatever. Okay, so I'm just going to go into here, into this table. And this is going to be my archive folder. Okay, and again, right click, reference it, just in case things change in the future. And you can't load this. This warning means you can't load both tables if they're referenced. So I need to disable the load of that first one. Okay, and this will be called my history. And then I click on the little double-headed arrow and away it goes. So it's the same experience in Dataflows as it is in desktop. And this sort of UI experience is coming to desktop eventually in 6 months, 12 months, not sure. Okay, so I'm going into this table and click OK. I probably should have right-clicked on that or ticked it, but so here is my helper queries and my archive folder and my now combined history. Okay, and I just don't need two eyes in there. Okay, so I'm done. That is now, should have, or let me grab my file names as well, sorry. So I go back to my removed other column step, tick my name, click OK. I'll remember to name it as file name. Okay. Expanded out columns, change types, that should all work. Beautiful. Okay, save and close. So here it whirs away. Let's call this archive data. This is just your folder name, as it were, and refresh now. So that history is getting pulled in, okay, and refreshing. So there we go, and it's done. So if I go back to my desktop and I go to transform data, and rather than connecting to the 2021 history, let me delete that. Okay. Well, I can't delete it because this one's referring to it. So here we go. We're going to go get rid of the appended queries. Okay. So now I can delete the history. Right, so I want to go and get the data from the data flow. So new source from more. Let's go Power Platform, Power BI Dataflows. Go and connect to this file. So where was it? It was YouTube demo, archive data, history. Okay. Click on OK. And again, I don't want to load this, so I'm going to go right-click, disable load. Go to my consolidation and append this history file. Okay, so there it is, all loaded. Close and apply. Again, it should whir away 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Bit longer, okay? Let me just refresh that again to give it another go. So refresh. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, pretty quick. Right, refresh that again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you see those two techniques, the CSV file or the Dataflow file, much quicker. And as things get bigger, this will get quicker. Now I'm suddenly thinking, why have I got 60,000 records? It's because I have loaded those other ones twice. Let me go back into it and sort that out. So there's the issue. I accidentally put the history, the old files into the Dataflow. So if I want to fix that up, check it out. I'll do it really quickly. I go in here, I go into my file here, and this is the beauty of the Dataflow approach, is you can make a change, refresh stuff, whereas the CSV, it's probably a bit trickier perhaps to overwrite. Well, it's probably the same, to be honest. So I'm going to go in here. I did not mean to put these 4 files into this folder. So I'm just going to go and delete them. Delete. Okay. Then I have to go and refresh my Dataflow. So I'm going to go back in. I'm going to go to my workspace. There's my Dataflow. I'm just going to refresh it. Okay, so that'll update then with the fact that those files, that history isn't there. But you could drop in these files at any time. You know, take them out of the old file, put them into the new folder. Okay, so here we go. Then I come in here and let's just go close and apply just to show that I could do this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There we go, 56,000 rows. All right, that was a long one, but I hope you found it useful. I've been meaning to do this one for a while, really wanted to show you the use of Bravo makes things a little bit simpler for that CSV, but you can use DAX Studio as well. Links to everything in the show notes below. Leave me a comment, let me know what you think. Catch you later.